This girl is Gyun Young, a reporter. Because she was new to the job, her coworkers constantly gave her errands to run. Despite that, she's incredibly optimistic about her bright future with her chef boyfriend, Roy. After work, Gyun Young asked her best friend, Mi Jung, to drop her off near Roy's place, while she hid behind and transformed into a bunny to surprise him. Gyun Young, holding flowers, excitedly went inside but bumped into another guy holding a bouquet just like hers. In her rush, he grabbed her flowers by mistake. Gyun Young thought his bouquet was not bad, so she kept it and continued to find Roy. She happily walked toward the door, only to see what you saw at the beginning of the video. She never imagined that Roy's cheating partner was the guy she ran into in the lobby, the same one holding her flowers. Gyun Young instantly thought about confronting him, but ultimately couldn't bring herself to do it, so she just took her flowers back. Roy quickly came after Gyun Young. He told her he was gay, but wanted to see if he could turn a man, so he tried dating her. Gyun Young was heartbroken and asked him why she experimented. She's not a litmus test to figure out if he's gay or not. Not only did Roy not apologize, but he also said she should have kept trying the experiment. Gyun Young was disappointed and walked away. She went back home, crying to Mi Jung while holding the shoes Roy had given her. To go on this date with him, she charged a brand new dress and designer bag on her credit card. Heartbroken, Gyun Young held the dress and bag, ready to throw them away, but Mi Jung stopped her. She pointed out that Gyun Young was planning on paying off those cards, so why throw them away for a guy who's not worth it? Gyun Young realized her friend was right and sat back down. She told Mi Jung to just wait and see how she's going to turn this whole situation around and make Roy regret everything. The next day, Gyun Young's office received an invitation to a party hosted by the famous rich kid, JJ. Everyone in the office thought it was a dumb assignment, so no one wanted to go. Of course, it fell to Gyun Young. She got dolled up in the dress and bag she'd been paying off and went to the party with her coworker, Soo Hwan. But when they arrived, Soo Hwan's camera was out of battery. He went back to the car to grab some batteries while Gyun Young waited, camera in hand. She saw a car with a big entertainment company logo and got curious. As she walked closer, the door suddenly opened. The guy inside, seeing her about to fall, quickly grabbed her hand. He's Hoo Jun, a famous singer, super popular and hunted by fans. Gyun Young was incredibly impressed by this charming star. She and Soo Hwan went to the party to do their job. JJ, the host, showed up and started giving a speech, but got overshadowed by Hoo Jun. The second Hoo Jun appeared, all the cameras that were pointed at JJ turned toward the singer. JJ quickly took the attention back by inviting Hoo Jun to the stage. They didn't like each other, but they had to act all chummy in front of the press. When they got inside the VP room, JJ's girlfriend, In Hyung, appeared. It turns out she's also Hoo Jun's ex-girlfriend. JJ knew this, so he kept making a show of cuddling with In Hyung in front of Hoo Jun. Hoo Jun left the room, and In Hyung chased after him, grabbing his hand. She pulled him aside and asked how he was doing, and he said something that made her cry. Gyun Young, who's in the bathroom, sees the whole thing. She never expected the polite guy who saved her to be the kind of person who made a woman cry. Hoo Jun noticed someone was looking at him, turned around, and saw Gyun Young. She quickly ran away when she made eye contact with him. Hoo Jun chased her. He recognized her from when she was looking in his car earlier. He asked her why she was there, and if she was one of those crazy fans who stalked him. He grabbed her camera and threw it away. Gyun Young tried to stop him, but her stomach flipped. She's had a lot of wine and ends up throwing up all over his expensive shoes. She quickly apologized, but she was still upset that he threw her camera, so they started arguing. Soo Hwan and Hoo Jun's manager arrived, and things calmed down. Gyun Young felt like he owed her an apology, so she left Soo Hwan and chased after Hoo Jun. She told him to apologize for what he did or she would expose his bad behavior. He whispered the same thing Roy said to her, then walked away. Gyun Young lost her temper, grabbed the shoes Roy bought her, and threw one at Hoo Jun. Tons of paparazzi saw the whole thing. The next day, the story of Hoo Jun being hit with a shoe by a mysterious girl went viral. To get back at Gyun Young, Hoo Jun called her boss and said that if they didn't handle the situation, he would pull out of their project next month. They didn't want to lose the deal with Hoo Jun, so they fired Gyun Young. She got fired, but they didn't tell her why, so she was furious. She went to her boss's office and scolded her. She said she's put a lot of work into the company and her ideas were always stolen by her boss, but she put up with it because she needed a job. She couldn't understand why she was fired, no matter how much she argued. Before leaving, Gyun Young called out her boss in front of everyone, exposing her awful behavior. Her boss slapped her. Gyun Young swore that she'd make her regret it. Without a job, Gyun Young couldn't afford to live, so she moved in with her best friend, Mi Young. She lugged her suitcase up several flights of stairs to Mi Young's place. Her friend and her boyfriend were just getting home, laughing and playing, only to bump into Gyun Young sprawled out on the bed. They looked at each other in shock. That night, Gyun Young was furious, upon hearing Hu Jun's name. He was the reason she got fired. In a fit of rage, she posted an expose online, calling Hu Jun a creep who makes women cry. She said if you want more details, contact her. When she woke up, no one had reached out, just a message from her old boss telling her to stop being so cocky. As if things couldn't get worse, Mai Jung told Gyun Young that her boyfriend was moving in, so she needed to find a new place to stay. Just when Gyun Young was about to give up, she got a call that saved her. She quickly got ready and went to the meeting place. It turned out the caller wanted to interview her for her online exposure. She excitedly told him everything, but his response was harsh. Your story wasn't convincing enough for them to write about. Gyun Young went home dejected, seeing new posts from the reporter. He published an article, but everything was twisted and completely different from what she'd told him. He even outed her by name. Now, Gyun Young was being labeled as Hu Jun's anti-fan and getting attacked online by his real fans. She couldn't take it anymore, so she went to Hu Jun's company and started protesting. It didn't go well, and she was surrounded by Hu Jun's fans who tried to beat her up. Hu Jun came over, helped her up, and said something so heartfelt that Gyun Young was surprised. The moment they were alone, they started arguing. Gyun Young was furious that Hu Jun didn't know the whole story, but was calling her a trashy reporter and that he'd cost her her job. Hu Jun threw her expose at her and asked if she was satisfied now. When Gyun Young got home, she got a call from her old company asking her to come in to take her severance pay. She went to the company only to find JJ there. He told her he agreed with her about Hu Jun being a creep and that he would always support her. Gyun Young walked into the office and was met by a swarm of reporters waiting for her. She tried to calmly walk in, but they recognized her and surrounded her, trying to interview her. Gyun Young's anger boiled over, and she vowed to expose Hu Jun's true face to the public. Gyun Young's comments went viral, and her mom saw her on the news. She immediately called and said that if Gyun Young lost her job because of this, she'd cancel her lease. Gyun Young screamed at her mom to stop, but she hung up. But thanks to that article, Gyun Young got a call from a producer. They wanted her to be on a reality show called I'm Marrying My Anti-Fan, and the person she'd be married to? Hu Jun. Of course, Gyun Young wouldn't want to be stuck with Hu Jun, but then the producer dropped a huge number for the salary. She immediately said yes, but here's the catch, Hu Jun completely refused to be on the show. Gyun Young knew she had to convince him, so she tagged along with Su Hwan to an event where Hu Jun was appearing. While Hu Jun was in the bathroom, Gyun Young put up a sign saying the bathroom was out of order and snuck in after him. When Hu Jun came out of the bathroom, he was startled by the appearance of an uninvited guest, Gyun Young. Gyun Young pleaded with Hu Jun to join the show with her. He leaned in close to her ear and said, "Don't even think about it." As Hu Jun walked out of the bathroom, he bumped into JJ. JJ, who was much more high-handed than Gyun Young, started teasing Hu Jun about In Hyung. This made Hu Jun so angry that he decided to do the show, and he informed his manager about it. Gyun Young was thrilled and hurried to meet with the producer to get the script. She was completely absorbed when Hu Jun suddenly appeared, causing her to jump back in shock. The two of them went inside to sign their contracts. Everyone went to Hu Jun's abandoned house to set up the cameras for the show. Hu Jun informed everyone that they could only film on the first floor, no going upstairs. The crew loved the location and thought it was perfect for filming. Gyun Young also thought the house was amazing, but she felt it didn't match Hu Jun's personality. He was furious but couldn't do anything about it. Gyun Young went to her best friend's place only to find her boyfriend had moved in. After dinner, Gyun Young headed back to her apartment, but the door wouldn't open. She tried every password, but nothing worked. It turns out her mom had canceled her lease. Frustrated, she went to a sauna to sleep, but everyone recognized her as Hu Jun's anti-fan. She had to leave and ended up crashing at Hu Jun's abandoned house for the night. While enjoying a feast, she heard a click at the door and panicked, but Hu Jun caught her. She invited him to have some drinks with her, and to her surprise, he sat down and joined her. However, Hu Jun dropped the bomb that he wasn't letting her stay there. Gyun Young argued that she had to stay, pointing out that it was Hu Jun's fault she lost her job. As they drank and talked, Hu Jun eventually passed out on the couch. The next morning, he woke up with a strange feeling, as if something was on him. He dragged himself to the bathroom, and there, sticking out of the bathtub, were two bright red feet. Cautiously, Hu Jun approached and realized it was Gyun Young, sound asleep in the tub. Angry, Hu Jun woke her up and told her to leave, but she responded that he was the one who told her to stay the night before. Hu Jun's memory came back, and he felt terrible. Finally, he compromised and let Gyun Young stay, but on one condition: she couldn't tell anyone she was at his place. The next day, Hu Jun, Gyun Young, and the two producers went out to celebrate the upcoming launch of the show. They drank heavily and ended up at a karaoke bar, letting loose and having a blast. Gyun Young even showed off her singing skills, belting out one of the producer's songs. It was so bad, the actual artist might not even recognize it was their song. Hoo Jun told Gyun Young that if she was drunk, she should go home and sleep instead of being in front of someone like JJ. However, JJ accused Hoo Jun of being worried that he would steal something back from him again. JJ then walked out. Hoo Jun and Gyun Young saw JJ and the other producer off in a taxi. Gyun Young was about to head home when Hoo Jun stopped her and said, "You're way too drunk to be alone. Let me take you home." He then took her to a taxi and carried her back to her place. He was about to ask her how she knew JJ when she fell asleep on the couch. Despite being furious, he couldn't help but get a blanket for her and clean up the mess she made. The next morning, Gyun Young woke up to a call from JJ. Last night, Hoo Jun asked Gyun Young if she got home safely. To thank him for the coffee, she invited him to dinner. The next day, Gyun Young went out to buy groceries. When she returned, she found her door open and several people in her house. It turned out they were there to prepare for a photo shoot and thought she had arrived early. They invited her to try on outfits. Hoo Jun arrived shortly after, and they both changed into their clothes for the shoot. Gyun Young felt a bit shy as she looked in the mirror, dressed in a beautiful white wedding dress. Everyone, including the director, was impressed and exclaimed, "Wow, you look incredible." During the shoot, Gyun Young had to hold a gun pointed at Hoo Jun as part of the concept. It provided the perfect opportunity for Hoo Jun to seek revenge. Gyun Young had been pointing the gun at Hoo Jun's head the whole time. However, Hoo Jun wasn't going to let her get the upper hand. He grabbed her wrist and twisted it behind her. After wrestling around for a bit, they finally nailed the shot. They then went outside to take more pictures, this time shooting in a car with Gyun Young as the driver. Before they started, Gyun Young whispered to Hoo Jun, "If you don't want to die, buckle your seatbelt tight." Because she didn't know how to drive, the director asked them not to wear a seatbelt. Suddenly, she slammed on the brakes, causing Hoo Jun to almost fly out of his seat. The scene was finished, and the director asked them to stop, but Gyun Young mistakenly stepped on the accelerator pedal instead of the brake pedal. The whole crew was freaking out, but Hoo Jun quickly pulled the handbrake and grabbed the wheel from her, bringing the car to a stop. The force of the brake threw Gyun Young forward, and their lips touched. They quickly pulled away, relieved that no one saw them. After everyone left, Gyun Young went back to her house. She was taking a hot bath to relax after a crazy day when she heard a noise outside. The director had returned to set up the shoot for the next day. She quickly ran out to the balcony to hide when the director saw the balcony door open and thought he had forgotten to lock it, so he locked it, trapping Gyun Young inside. She tried to call Hoo Jun for help, but she didn't have his number. Desperate, she called his manager, who happened to be in the bathroom. Hoo Jun answered the call, unbeknownst to Gyun Young. He finished up and headed over to Gyun Young's house. She saw him coming and tried to run away, but her fear made her come out and beg him to open the door. The next day, Gyun Young had to film herself walking into her own house as part of the real shoot. She had to pretend to be going to her best friend Myung's house to grab some stuff. As she was about to knock on the door, it magically opened, and there was Hoo Jun with a big smile on his face. They sat down to film the scene where they opened up their luggage. It was totally awkward, but they managed to get through it. Then, things got even more embarrassing. Gyun Young's stomach started growling because she was starving. Hoo Jun offered her something to eat, but she said, "There's nothing to eat here." Hoo Jun quickly covered for her by inviting her to have a meal, and she ended up ordering enough food for 10 people. Hoo Jun was secretly annoyed, but he had to keep a smile on his face. He asked for her number, and as soon as he got it, he texted her, "Do you want to die?" Gyun Young ignored him and kept filming. As soon as the shoot was over, Hoo Jun was like, "Why didn't you answer my text?" He was totally over it. She acted innocent and said she thought she wasn't supposed to use her phone during filming. Once everyone left, they started arguing. Gyun Young was watching something on her phone and giggling, and Hoo Jun got curious and snatched it away. Gyun Young remembered that the article trash-talking Hoo Jun was still open on her phone, so she yanked it back. She got up and was about to go upstairs to explore, but Hoo Jun grabbed her arm and pulled her close. She stumbled into his chest. He told her not to go upstairs. They gave each other a look of annoyance, and she left. As she stepped out onto the street, she was ambushed by a bunch of Hoo Jun's fans. They started throwing eggs and flour at her, and they were even filming it on their phones. She was furious, but she stayed calm and told them, "If you're going to send this around, please just send it in your group chat. Don't share it publicly. My mom will see it." Hoo Jun landed a major advertising deal from his dad's company. This made him reminisce about his old friend, JJ, with whom he used to be very close. JJ's family was extremely wealthy, and his father allowed him to start his own entertainment company. JJ wanted Hoo Jun to join him, but Hoo Jun declined. He couldn't abandon the person who had brought him to Korea and given him everything he had. JJ mentioned that In Hyung would go with him, but Hoo Jun urged JJ to take good care of In Hyung, and he decided to stay and repay his debt of gratitude. Their friendship suffered after that. The next day, everyone arrived for the shoot, but Hoo Jun had injured his leg. The director came up with an unexpected idea. He asked Yoon Young to take care of him. Hoo Jun saw this as the perfect opportunity for payback. He instructed her to fetch him some water, and then accidentally knocked over the bottle, causing her to run around. Later, he expressed his desire to watch TV and eat cake simultaneously. Yoon Young had to go to the bakery to buy some cake for Hoo Jun. While there, she ran into Hoo Jun's favorite reporter, who gave her some packets of something and told her, "Don't let yourself get too tired. I need good stuff to write about you." When she got back home, she started making food and drinks for Hoo Jun and secretly added the reporter's packets to Hoo Jun's glass of water. As a result, Hoo Jun started getting a stomachache, causing panic among the crew. Yoon Young took the blame, saying she added some vitamins to Hoo Jun's drink. Hoo Jun glared at her with a serious expression. It turned out that the stomachache was not real. It was all a prank planned by the crew and Hoo Jun to see how Yoon Young would react. They all shouted, "It was a prank." Yoon Young was embarrassed and felt guilty, so she went to Hoo Jun's house to apologize. Yoon Young was about to apologize to Hoo Jun when she saw someone she recognized leaving his house. It was the girl who was with Hoo Jun that day. She ran after her and called out, but Hoo Jun grabbed her arm and pulled her into a hug. It turns out he was trying to make In Hyung jealous. After In Hyung left, Hoo Jun let go of Yoon Young. The next day, Hoo Jun invited Yoon Young to a fancy restaurant. She quickly changed into her best outfit and headed to the restaurant. Then, she realized it was her ex-boyfriend Roy's restaurant. She couldn't believe it. He was actually the guest star on the show. They saw each other, but pretended they didn't know each other. Hoo Jun cooked the food for Yoon Young himself. She was staring at Hoo Jun because he was the same height as that foreign guy who had an affair with Roy, and he had just gotten back to Korea. Yoon Young thought Hoo Jun was Roy's boyfriend and started watching them closely. She saw them interacting and got a creepy feeling. The food came out and Roy served them. Yoon Young couldn't hold it back anymore. She started teasing them with some sarcastic remarks. Hoo Jun noticed Yoon Young's sarcastic remark and quickly kicked her under the table, causing her to jump and drop her fork. Roy was about to pick it up, but Yoon Young grabbed his shirt. She was still wearing the shoes he had given her, which made the situation awkward. Both Hoo Jun and Yoon Young bent down to pick up the fork, secretly arguing with each other as they did so. The shoot ended quickly, and as Yoon Young walked outside, she found Roy blocking her way and laughing at her for still wearing the shoes he had given her. Yoon Young didn't know what to say, but then Hoo Jun showed up. After Roy left, Hoo Jun teased Yoon Young, but she yelled at him, leaving him speechless. She was so angry that she took off her shoes and walked barefoot to the taxi. Later, Yoon Young went to her best friend's house to vent. Yoon Young was still feeling down when she saw the commercial for her show on TV. She saw herself being mean on TV, and she was so bummed out that she dropped her food. She went home feeling miserable. While cleaning up the house, she heard the doorbell. It was Hoo Jun. He wanted to drink with her. She noticed the cut on his hand and asked, "Did you get into a fight?" He just stayed silent. Yoon Young rolled her eyes but still got up to grab some bandages. He held out his hand, and she begrudgingly put the bandage on it. These two friends, Yoon Young and Hoo Jun, were having a few drinks together. Yoon Young got a little tipsy, and Hoo Jun asked her, "Hey, is there anything you'd really want to protect?" Yoon Young said, "Of course. I want to protect my career and relationship, but I failed to protect either." Then she just collapsed on the table and fell asleep. Hoo Jun saw her passed out and said, "I feel the same way. I have so many things I want to protect, but I haven't been able to hold on to anything." He got her a blanket, covered her up, and then left. As soon as Hoo Jun left, Yoon Young suddenly woke up. Turns out, she wasn't actually drunk. She was just pretending. The next morning, Yoon Young was happily doing laundry when her director called. He said they needed to film right away. The schedule had changed, and they were already on their way to her house. She quickly changed clothes and went for a walk to make it seem like she was getting back. Yoon Young was getting ready for a photo shoot when the director showed up with a bag of her stuff that she had left at Hoo Jun's place. She almost revealed the truth, but managed to cover it up just in time. During the filming of a cleaning scene, she couldn't help but roll her eyes at Hoo Jun's exaggerated acting. While cleaning, she subtly criticized him. She took a break to sneak upstairs, but Hoo Jun stopped her and insisted on handling it. After filming, Hoo Jun's stylist couldn't find his white t-shirt. It turned out that Yoon Young had mistaken it for a cleaning rag and used it to wipe down the whole house. She offered to replace it, but when she heard the price, she hesitated, considering the high cost of the designer t-shirt. Yoon Young was feeling extremely stressed, not knowing how to deal with the t-shirt situation. Just when she thought she was doomed, Hoo Jun and his manager swooped in and saved the day. With everyone gone, Yoon Young relaxed on the couch, enjoying the peace. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It was someone from the film crew who had come back to give Hoo Jun something, but he was already gone. So, they asked Yoon Young to give it to him when she saw him. Curiosity got the best of her, and she opened the package. As she did, Something fell out and landed right on her face. She picked it up and gasped. It was a seriously hot piece of lingerie. Gyun Young was baffled. What was Hu Jun doing with this? She decided to investigate and went upstairs to his room. Just as she was about to enter, the doorbell rang again. She went back downstairs to answer it, and it was Hu Jun. He walked straight into the house and headed up to his room. Gyun Young quickly stuffed the lingerie into her bag and followed him. Gyun Young stood in front of Hu Jun, ready to confront him. She handed the lingerie back to him, making sure to let him know exactly what she thought of him. She exclaimed, "You creep." Hu Jun looked in the bag and was just as shocked as she was. He tried to explain, but Gyun Young didn't believe. He was speechless, so he called his manager to find out what was going on. Turns out, the whole thing was a huge misunderstanding. Gyun Young quickly changed the subject to get Hu Jun off her back. The next day, Gyun Young woke up to a call from a big broadcasting company. She was thrilled, but also nervous. She went to the screenwriter and asked, "What will happen if I quit the show now?" The screenwriter painted a picture of disaster if she left, describing all the awful consequences. Gyun Young was really torn. She didn't know what to do. The next morning, the whole film crew was heading to Japan for the shoot, but nobody could get in touch with Gyun Young. Turns out, she had gone to a news office for an interview. She told them she wanted to quit the show and become a reporter, but the employer quickly shut her down. He wanted her to stay on the show and dig up dirt on Hu Jun. If she succeeded, he'd hire her. Gyun Young was really conflicted, but in the end, she decided not to sign the contract. She couldn't bring herself to be the person who sells someone else's private life for money. After rejecting the job, Gyun Young rushed to the airport. It was her first time flying, so she was lost and got swept up in a crowd. She accidentally bumped into someone and was about to fall, but luckily, Hu Jun came to her rescue. He caught her before she hit the ground. Hu Jun grabbed Gyun Young's hand and they took off running, trying to make their flight, but they were too late. They had to change flights. As soon as they got on the plane, they were arguing non-stop. An older lady sitting next to them thought they were a newlywed couple fighting. Their manager couldn't hold back the laughter as he listened to the lady's comments. Gyun Young had to use the restroom, but she couldn't figure out how to open the door. She struggled for a while before she finally figured it out. Her phone was broken right after. She bent down to pick it up, and Hu Jun stepped in. He saw her sitting there, and he was shocked and asked why she was sitting there. Gyun Young explained what happened, looking totally heartbroken. She then walked out of the restroom. Just as Gyun Young was explaining herself, the lady from the restroom walked in. She saw them together and thought they were a newlywed couple who couldn't bear to be apart for a minute. She gave Hu Jun a little pat on the shoulder and chuckled. Finally, the flight landed in Japan. The crew asked Gyun Young to be Hu Jun's tour guide for the day. She was lost, though. This was her first time in Japan, and she had absolutely no idea what she was doing. They started wandering around the city with the camera crew in tow. Gyun Young wanted to take Hu Jun to eat sushi, but her phone was toast, so she couldn't use the map. After searching for a while, they realized they were lost. Hu Jun looked around and found a sushi restaurant nearby. As soon as they walked in, Hu Jun reached over to Gyun Young and turned off the camera and her microphone. The moment the microphone went off, those two started bickering again. Hu Jun was complaining about Gyun Young's navigation skills, saying, "We've been walking around for half a day, and now we finally have something to eat? Next time, if you don't know where you're going, just tell me, and I'll guide you instead of you wandering around like this." After they filled their bellies, they continued on their way. They stopped at a souvenir shop by the road, where they could get fortune-telling. Gyun Young was excited to try, but she couldn't read Japanese, so she asked Hu Jun to help. Her fortune said that true love was right in front of her, but Gyun Young misheard it. Hu Jun told her that she would get the forever alone fortune if she lost the paper. He then quickly shoved the fortune into his pocket and ran off. When they finished filming, the manager took Gyun Young back to her hotel and then took Hu Jun to film a commercial. But he couldn't believe it, but the lead actress in the commercial was In Hyung. What's more, In Hyung had secretly flown to Japan to film the commercial, without JJ knowing. Speaking of the devil, JJ appeared at the door, looking absolutely furious. Meanwhile, Gyun Young was invited out to dinner by Hu Jun's manager. The manager told her, "You know, Hu Jun seems comfortable around you. I haven't seen him smile like that in ages. I hope you can keep him happy like that." Gyun Young started thinking, maybe Hu Jun wasn't as bad as she thought he was. As they were driving back, they saw Hu Jun and In Hyung standing in the rain, staring at each other. The manager rushed over and said something to them, and In Hyung left. Gyun Young saw the whole thing from the car. She also realized that In Hyung was the woman who had been at Hu Jun's house before. Hu Jun's manager led him back to his room. He remembered the manager's words to In Hyung in his mind. The manager had said, "If you're really going to break up with him, please don't come back looking all heartbroken and begging for him again. Let him live in peace, okay?" The next morning, the whole crew went to the beach to film the commercial. In Hyung was there with JJ. They had a huge fight the night before, but JJ finally agreed to let In Hyung come film with Hu Jun. Yoon Young realized this was the girl she'd seen standing in the rain with Hoo Jun the other day, watching them film the commercial with JJ and Hoo Jun standing on the shore. They both had this weird, uncomfortable feeling that they couldn't put into words. After the commercial shoot, it was time for the show crew to film their segment. Hoo Jun and Yoon Young went into the water to play a game of high fives. They were both super competitive and didn't want to give up. They were slapping each other's hands for a while until Yoon Young lost her balance and fell into Hoo Jun's arms. When her hand touched him, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly got up and continued the game. This time, Hoo Jun won, and Yoon Young lost her balance and fell into the water. Hoo Jun pretended to be worried and jumped in to save her. Yoon Young rolled her eyes at his dramatic performance and let him have it with some sarcastic remarks. The next day was a day off, and the manager invited Yoon Young to go out with him. He had to go back to the hotel to get something, so he left Hoo Jun and Yoon Young there. Yoon Young was distracted by the toys and didn't notice Hoo Jun disappear. When she finally realized he was gone, she started frantically searching for him. She couldn't find him anywhere and started to panic. She couldn't remember the hotel name to call a taxi, and to top it off, she tripped and fell, hurting her ankle. Meanwhile, Hoo Jun had gone for a little walk, and when he came back, Yoon Young was nowhere to be found. Hoo Jun and the manager split up and started searching for Yoon Young. After searching for half a day, Hoo Jun finally found her. She was sitting in a corner crying her eyes out. When she saw him, she started crying even louder. Hoo Jun started laughing and then sat down next to her. Seeing her cry, he tried to stifle his laughter and helped her stand up. Yoon Young let out a scream, and Hoo Jun realized she had hurt her ankle. Hoo Jun started scolding her, but he realized that the more he yelled, the louder she cried. So, he decided to let her climb on his back, but she refused. She wanted to walk, even though she was hurt. The manager caught up and saw them walking together, so he quietly followed behind them. When they got back to the hotel, they found out that their flight the next day had been canceled because of a typhoon. They managed to change their flight to that day, but there were only a few seats left. So, Hoo Jun, Yoon Young, and the manager decided to stay and wait out the storm before heading back home. To make it up to Yoon Young, Hoo Jun went to a convenience store and bought a ton of snacks. He had them delivered straight to her room. That evening, Hoo Jun and his manager went to meet a guy and ask him about his dad. They brought a ring with them. The guy recognized the ring and said it belonged to a group of friends, including Hoo Jun's dad, but they had lost touch after graduation. Hoo Jun was bummed, so he headed back to the hotel. He ran into Yoon Young in the elevator, but he didn't say anything and just walked away. But he accidentally dropped his ring. Yoon Young picked it up. Later, Yoon Young decided to go for a relaxing soak in the hot springs. She was about to get in when she saw Hoo Jun sitting there and almost was scared out of her wits. She didn't let him stop her though. She was going to have her hot spring bath, no matter what. As she sat down, Hoo Jun kept saying something, but she couldn't understand him. He just kept repeating, "Everything will be okay." Hoo Jun just burst out laughing and walked out of the hot spring. When he got back to his room, his ring was gone. He looked everywhere for it, but it was nowhere to be found. The typhoon passed, and the next day they packed their bags and headed back home. Hoo Jun, being an idol, got to sit in first class, but Yoon Young was stuck in the economy. Hoo Jun felt bad for her, so he upgraded her seat to first class. Yoon Young told the manager that she had found a ring in the hotel the day before and had left it at the front desk, hoping they could find the owner. When she described the ring, Hoo Jun recognized it as his. He was so happy to have his dad's ring back. When they walked out of the airport, they were swarmed by Hoo Jun's fans. They were pushing and shoving Yoon Young, and she almost fell. Luckily, Hoo Jun was right there to catch her. He quickly told his fans to stop being so reckless, and Yoon Young was escorted away by staff. Turns out, after the first episode of the show, Yoon Young was accused of being a villain who wanted to kill Hoo Jun. She was so upset that she told the director she wanted to quit the show. Feeling miserable, Yoon Young went to buy a new phone. Back at home, her mom called, saying that because of Yoon Young, she didn't even dare go to the market to buy groceries anymore, because she was afraid people would recognize her. She told Yoon Young to quit everything and come back home. She said she'd give her a place to stay and food so she wouldn't have to deal with all the hate anymore. Yoon Young started crying when she heard her mom's voice. She wanted to go home, but she was too far in now. She couldn't just turn back. Yoon Young went to her best friend Mi Jung's shop and turned on the video of the show. It was clear that the editors had made her look like an evil person. Even though Yoon Young tried to cover her face, people still recognized her and started taking pictures. Yoon Young quickly left and went back home. As soon as she got inside, Hoo Jun arrived with a bunch of gifts for her. They sat down together and had some drinks, chatting away. Suddenly, Yoon Young got a call from Roy, her ex-boyfriend. He called her to ask if she had been trying to get close to Hoo Jun for revenge after they broke up. Yoon Young was furious and let loose with a string of insults. Hoo Jun tried to listen in, but he couldn't catch anything. He told her everything would be okay and encouraged her to be strong. The next morning, Gyun Young was sleeping when Hoo Jun's phone started ringing. She looked everywhere for it, and she found him fast asleep in the bathtub. She couldn't resist touching his face, but then his phone started ringing again, waking him up. They quickly got ready and headed to the filming location. This time they were filming on the streets. Gyun Young was so worried. She was picturing those crazy fans attacking her again, just like last time. Hoo Jun knew what she was thinking, so he quickly said, "Don't worry, I'll be right here to protect you." As soon as they stepped out onto the street, they were followed by a whole swarm of Hoo Jun's fans. They stopped at a jewelry stand on the street, and Hoo Jun picked up a necklace. He put it around Gyun Young's neck, then grabbed another one that was the same and told her to put it on him. After buying matching necklaces, they continued walking and ran into a street band playing one of Hoo Jun's songs. With the fans cheering, Hoo Jun joined in and started singing. Gyun Young and all the fans were completely captivated by his voice. When the song ended, a bunch of fans tried to push their way through to get a picture with Hoo Jun. Hoo Jun grabbed Gyun Young's hand and took off running. He dragged her into a corner to lose those crazy fans. He told her to turn off her microphone so they could talk more freely. They were about to leave when a downpour started. Hoo Jun quickly took off his jacket and held it over her head. They ran through the rain together just like a couple in love. The next day, they were back to filming. This time, they were at the same spot where everything had gone crazy for them. Gyun Young couldn't believe they were back in that place, filled with so many memories. As she walked in, the production crew announced that the car Hoo Jun was riding in had been in an accident. Gyun Young was freaking out and wanted to run to the scene, but they told her to stay and watch the equipment. Suddenly, the lights went out, and then in walked Hoo Jun, holding a cake. He was singing happy birthday to Gyun Young. She was totally surprised to see him. Gyun Young happily blew out the candles, and Hoo Jun presented her with a gift. He knelt and put a pair of high heels on her feet. It was a gift from the crew. The director told them that they had two very special guests coming to the set, and then he motioned for them to come in. They were completely surprised to find out that the guests were In Hyung and JJ. They all awkwardly chatted for a bit, and then Gyun Young excused herself to use the restroom. When she came out, she ran into JJ. He asked her if she knew about Hoo Jun's past with In Hyung. Gyun Young was about to say she didn't know anything, but then she saw Hoo Jun standing there, listening in. Hoo Jun was furious and walked away. Gyun Young quickly followed him. She told Hoo Jun that he was misunderstanding. She really didn't know anything about their past. But Hoo Jun wasn't buying it. He was mad and just kept walking. Hoo Jun got back to his place and got a call from JJ. He rushed to the meeting spot and they started brawling. No words, just punches. Hoo Jun showed up at Gyun Young's place, looking like he'd been in a fight. He found her packing her bags, ready to leave. She let him inside and patched him up. Hoo Jun told her, "Just stay here, you don't have anywhere else to go anyway." So they sat down and had some drinks. Hoo Jun said, "Even if you know about my past, just pretend you don't, okay?" Gyun Young told him, "I don't know anything, and even if I did, I wouldn't be that low to go digging into someone's past." The next morning, Gyun Young was just heading out when she got a call from Hoo Jun. She rushed to the basement, and there he was, waiting for her. He told her to quickly put on a helmet, and then he took her somewhere. Turns out, it was the release day for a video game that Hoo Jun was totally obsessed with. He'd secretly snuck Gyun Young out to stand in line to buy it. They were both bundled up from head to toe, waiting in line. After a while, Gyun Young's stomach started rumbling like a drum. They quickly asked someone to hold their place in line and went to a convenience store to grab some food. They were eating instant ramen with their helmets on. The helmet was blocking her view, so Gyun Young accidentally spilled her ramen all over Hoo Jun. Hoo Jun had to go home and change, so Gyun Young stayed to keep their spot in line. After a serious battle, Gyun Young finally managed to get the game for Hoo Jun. She was waiting for him to pick her up, but he never showed up. Meanwhile, Hoo Jun got a call from his reporter. Hoo Jun found out that Gyun Young had gone for an interview at a news office. He also found out that the office had offered Gyun Young a job if she would sell him information about Hoo Jun. They told the reporter to look into it further and see if Gyun Young would agree. Hoo Jun was torn. He hesitated for a long time before finally walking over to pick her up. After dropping Gyun Young off, Hoo Jun went to the company and told his manager to film the next episode of the show at the event happening that day. He also said that the show was going to end soon. Gyun Young went to the event and overheard Hoo Jun's reporter talking to Soo Hwan about her job interview. She quickly intervened, interrupting their conversation. She told the reporter that if he didn't get his facts straight, he should just quit being a reporter. The event was about to start when Hoo Jun and Gyun Young appeared on the red carpet. As soon as they stepped out, a bunch of Hoo Jun's super fans surrounded Gyun Young. Hoo Jun wanted to jump in and help, but his manager stopped him and said to let him do it. Gyun Young managed to escape the crowd and hopped into a taxi. Before she left, the director told Gyun Young that today was the last day of filming. The show was over. No explanation. Gyun Young went home, and was drowning her sorrows in some wine when Jun suddenly walked through the door. Turns out, the reporter had realized he was wrong about Gyun Young and had told Jun the truth. Jun left the event and rushed to see her. He brought her a gift, a present for her birthday. She was still upset and didn't pay much attention to it. She started crying and poured her heart out to him. Then, she got up and started packing her things to leave. Jun shouted at her, "Stay! Stay where I can see you every day. I don't know why, but I'm totally messed up about you." He went to kiss her, but then the doorbell rang. Gyun Young quickly pushed him away. She thought back to how happy Jun seemed with Young, and she started to think that he was playing with her feelings, trying to get revenge. Then stormed out. The next day, the show resumed filming, and they were back at the news office where Gyun Young used to work. Jun said good morning to her, but she was creeped out. It was her old workplace, plus everything that happened the night before, and she was in a terrible mood. She was snapping at everyone and everything. Jun noticed that she wasn't herself, so he pulled her aside to talk. He thought she was still upset about what happened the previous night. He told her, "I'm messed up about what happened yesterday too." Gyun Young shut him down and said if you've messed up about it, just call it a mistake. They walked back into the office, and the manager teased Gyun Young in front of everyone. To make matters worse, the manager took the proposal Gyun Young had worked on day and night and presented it as her own to Jun. Gyun Young was furious and was about to stand up, but the manager cut her off, leaving her speechless. Jun noticed what was going on and told the manager that he wanted to hear what Gyun Young had to say. Gyun Young couldn't believe her proposal had been stolen. She quickly told Jun that she didn't like the idea. The whole crew was called into an emergency meeting with Jun that left Gyun Young and the manager alone. Gyun Young asked her why she'd stolen her proposal and then had the nerve to present it to her face. The manager didn't even apologize. Instead, she made fun of Gyun Young, saying she was just a dog who used to work for her. Gyun Young was so angry she burst into tears. She was about to stand up and fight for herself when Jun walked in. He announced that he was canceling the photo shoot right in front of her, and then grabbed Gyun Young's hand and walked out. Gyun Young complained, "Why did you cancel the photo shoot because of me? You're messing things up for innocent people in the company." Jun was furious. "I was trying to help you get justice, and you think I'm sticking my nose in your business?" Gyun Young shouted back, "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have lost my job in the first place. I wouldn't be in this mess." Then she stormed off. Jun thought she'd gone home, so he went to find her. He rang the doorbell, but no one answered. He tried calling her, but she was still mad and wouldn't pick up. She went to her best friend Myung's place, but as soon as she got to the door, she saw Jun sitting there with him. He was waving and smiling at her. Even though she was still mad at Jun, she couldn't resist a good time with her friends. Gyun Young, fueled by a few drinks, started bad-mouthing Jun right to his face. But Jun didn't get mad. He just sat there and chuckled, looking completely smitten. It was getting late, so Jun got up to leave, but then he saw Gyun Young coming up the stairs. They started arguing again, but this time, Jun was happy. He could tell she was calming down and talking to him. The next day, Gyun Young's old coworker asked her to meet for coffee. He begged her to convince Jun to renew the contract with the news office because he and the rest of the staff were being tortured by their manager. Gyun Young felt sorry for them, so she agreed to try. She called Jun and found out he was at the company. She said she would come to find him. As Gyun Young got to the front of the office, she saw a crowd of Jun's fans hanging around. She had no idea how to get inside, but then his manager popped up behind her and tapped her on the shoulder. Turns out, Jun knew she was coming and asked his manager to come down and help her get safely inside the company. Gyun Young finally found Jun. She told him about her old coworkers and how they needed his help. Jun agreed, but with one condition: she had to stay and listen to him sing. That seemed like a pretty good deal, so Gyun Young agreed. Jun went into the recording studio and sang for her. He was halfway through when he heard a woman's voice singing along with him. He was totally shocked. He asked who it was and found out it was In Hyung. Gyun Young heard the name In Hyung and got up to leave. Jun quickly followed her home. When Gyun Young got back, she saw someone standing at her door. Only she, Jun, and the manager knew she was there. Since they were together, whoever was at her door wasn't a friend. Gyun Young quickly hid in the emergency exit. She only came out when she didn't hear anything anymore. Just as she was closing the door, a head popped in, and Gyun Young almost jumped out of her skin. It was the person who threw eggs and flour at her that day. The girl threatened Gyun Young, saying that if she didn't let her see Jun, she'd tell everyone where she was living. She even made herself comfortable in Gyun Young's house, waiting for Jun to come home. Gyun Young tried calling Jun, but he didn't pick up. She told the girl to go home and come back later when Jun was there, but the girl wouldn't budge. She had to see Jun. And besides, she had traveled so far and there were no more rides back home. So they sat down and started watching the show. And while they were watching, they started arguing with each other. Gyun Young was in the middle of a big fight when suddenly, her opponent disappeared. Turns out, the girl had fallen fast asleep. The next morning, the girl had to leave, but she promised to come back soon. Gyun Young got dressed and headed to the next filming location, which was a press conference for Hoojun's new album. Hoojun saw Gyun Young arrive, holding the gift he had given her. He felt like he was on fire. He was so happy. But because he had to keep up his image, he tried to hide his excitement. He texted Gyun Young, "You look beautiful today." Gyun Young was creeped out. In Hyung and JJ showed up at the event too, but they didn't go on stage. The MC asked Hoojun if he'd ever had a first love. Hoojun admitted, "Yeah, I did." JJ immediately put his arm around In Hyung, claiming her as his. The MC kept pushing, asking Hoojun if he would take his first love back if she came back into his life. Hoojun didn't answer. He just stared at Gyun Young with this intense look. Gyun Young was flustered by his stare. As Gyun Young was leaving, the girl stopped her again. She hadn't seen Hoojun, and she asked Gyun Young, "Did you forget to tell him?" Gyun Young couldn't take it anymore. She started arguing with her, and the girl was so scared she chased after Gyun Young and apologized. The girl stayed at Gyun Young's place and waited for Hoojun to come home. Looking at the girl sleeping soundly, Gyun Young felt a little bad for snapping at her. She called Hoojun, but he didn't pick up. She was starting to get mad, so she grabbed a bottle of wine. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Hoojun. Gyun Young was shocked and pulled him outside. She told him everything. Before she could finish, the girl walked out of the house. They both stared at each other, speechless. They all went inside and started talking. After a while, Hoojun finally figured out what was going on. The girl said she had been in love with him for a long time. She had been waiting to grow up so she could marry him, just like he promised. Hoojun was confused. He had no idea what promise she was talking about. The girl showed him a shirt with his autograph on it, and there was the promise. Hoojun was completely flustered. He didn't know what to do, so he just shrugged it off. The next morning, Hoojun took them both somewhere. This time he made Gyun Young drive. He was giving her some driving lessons. She was forced to be a chauffeur and a babysitter. They got hungry, so she had to pull over and get them some food. It was just Hoojun and the girl left in the car. The girl asked him, "Did you do something wrong to Gyun Young? She doesn't seem like an anti-fan at all." She also told him, "Gyun Young wants to be the thing that no one wants to find again." Hoojun was silent. Gyun Young came back with the food. Hoojun said, "Let me drive." A while later, they arrived at the girl's house. She didn't want to go, but she listened to her idol and agreed. Before she left, Hoojun gave her his number and said, "When you get into college, come find me. And don't tell anyone my number, or you'll never see me again." Before she left, she leaned into Gyun Young and whispered, "Don't you dare try to date him, or you'll regret it." Gyun Young was exhausted and said she was going to take a nap. She told him to call her when they got home. When she woke up, she found out that Hoojun was taking her to her mom's house. She told him to turn around and take her home, but he said, "We're here now, so we're going." Gyun Young was stuck, so she went inside. As soon as she entered the house, her mom grabbed a broom and was ready to give her a good beating. Hoojun quickly jumped in front of Gyun Young and shielded her. Her mom finally noticed that another guy was standing there next to her daughter. They all went inside. Gyun Young's mom just kept staring at Hoojun, making him feel really nervous. After a while, she finally calmed down and went into the kitchen to cook a feast for him. After dinner, they went for a walk down the country road. Suddenly, Hoojun grabbed Gyun Young's hand. She was startled, but she didn't pull away. Then they went to where her dad worked. As soon as Hoojun walked in, Gyun Young's dad started giving him a beating for causing his daughter to be dragged through the mud online. Gyun Young quickly protected Hoojun. Everyone else jumped in to stop her dad from hitting him anymore. It took a while, but her dad finally calmed down. He warned Hoojun, "If you make my daughter cry again, I won't just hit you. I'll do a lot worse." The uninvited guest, Hoojun, was given a very fancy place to sleep, next to the washing machine. He couldn't sleep at all, so he went outside to sit on the porch. Gyun Young was worried that superstar Hoojun wasn't used to sleeping on the floor, so she went outside to check on him. She found him sitting on the porch, telling her his life story. He said, "My real name is Benny. I'm from Alaska, and I'm older than you. A year older. My birthday and birth year online are all fake. My manager said if I put my real birthday, I'd be a huge star." Suddenly, they heard a noise behind them. Gyun Young was scared and hugged Hoojun. She asked him, "Why are you messing with me like this?" Hoojun said, "I'm not messing around. I think I'm in love with you." Then he leaned in and kissed her, and this time, she kissed him back. The next morning, Gyun Young woke up to see Hoojun wearing her dad's shirt and sweeping the porch. After he was done, he and Gyun Young went inside for breakfast. Gyun Young's mom made a huge breakfast for Hoojun before they headed back to Seoul. As they were leaving, her parents gave them a bunch of stuff to take back to Seoul. They were on their way when their car suddenly broke down. Hoojun got out to check it out, but he couldn't find anything wrong. He got back in the car and went to check on Gyun Young, but he realized they were just out of gas. He quickly took the opportunity to kiss her again. He wanted to go in for another one, but she caught him. She was embarrassed and pushed him away, then slammed the car door shut. They finally had to call their manager for a rescue. The manager felt like there was something weird going on between them, but when he asked, they wouldn't say anything. Before going to sleep, they texted each other and laughed their heads off all night. The next morning, the director called Gyun Young. He was coming to film an interview at her house. Gyun Young quickly jumped up and started hiding all the food her mom had given them, so the director wouldn't see it. She was getting excited, but then the director said, "If you don't have anything to do, just stay inside for a while." Gyun Young was confused. He explained that Hoojun's new song had leaked, and fans were accusing Gyun Young of doing it because she was supposedly an anti-fan. It turns out that In Hyung was the one who leaked the song. She was trying to use Hoojun's fame to get out of her contract with JJ. Gyun Young was so hurt that everyone was blaming her. She went to Mi Jung's place to cheer up. Hoojun quickly went to Mi Jung's too, searching for her. He grabbed her hand and took her to the beach to let off some steam. They both yelled at the top of their lungs. After a while, Gyun Young was feeling much better, but then her stomach started growling. He hugged her and said, "Don't cry, Gyun Young. It makes me sad." His phone started ringing. He picked it up and his face fell. He found out that In Hyung had fainted in her car and was in the hospital. Seeing that Hoojun was in a tough spot, Gyun Young offered to go to the hospital to check on In Hyung. In Hyung finally woke up. Gyun Young saw that they needed some privacy, so she left them alone. In Hyung said that she wanted to get back together with Hoojun. Of course, he said no. He was in love with Gyun Young now. Hoojun's manager showed up at the hospital. Because Hoojun was a public figure, he couldn't stay long. That left Gyun Young responsible for taking care of In Hyung. The ex and the new girlfriend sat there, both silent. In Hyung finally admitted to Gyun Young that she was the one who leaked the song. Gyun Young was furious and gave her a piece of her mind. She was so upset that In Hyung's impulsive action had caused so much trouble for so many people. She stormed out to cool off. The next day, Gyun Young was still taking care of In Hyung. In Hyung apologized to her about what happened the day before. Gyun Young went out to get some water and grabbed In Hyung's phone by mistake. In Hyung looked for her phone and couldn't find it, but she saw Gyun Young's phone. Right then, a text message from Hoojun popped up. In Hyung couldn't resist. She took Gyun Young's phone and sent Hoojun a message, asking him if he was no longer interested in her. She quickly felt guilty and deleted the message. Just then, Hoojun arrived to visit In Hyung. She confessed that she was the one who leaked his song. She said she was really sorry to him and Gyun Young. Outside the hospital, everyone was buzzing about seeing Hoojun there. A reporter overheard the gossip and quickly started spreading the news. JJ heard that In Hyung was in the hospital and rushed over. So all four of them ended up in Hyung's hospital room. The manager ran in and announced that the reporters were all waiting outside. He told them to figure out a way to escape. In Hyung quickly changed into a nurse's uniform and ran out with JJ. Gyun Young pretended to be a patient who was upset about all the negative comments she'd been getting online, and Hoojun showed up as a visitor. Hoojun calmly faced the cameras and said he was there to visit Gyun Young. He declared that she wasn't the one who leaked his song, because he never even brought it to the show, so she couldn't have known about it. Gyun Young was bored out of her mind, just lying in the hospital, scrolling through her phone. She heard someone knocking, so she pretended to be sick and pulled the covers over her head. Gyun Young heard a knock on the door and thought it was a pizza delivery. She jumped up and then remembered she hadn't ordered any pizza. She quickly flopped back down. It was Hoojun. He was pretending to be a pizza delivery guy to surprise her. They decided to ditch the hospital and go have some fun. Hoojun drove Gyun Young around town and then brought her back to his place. He took her hand and led her up to a room upstairs. It was a secret room where he kept all his hobbies. Gyun Young was so excited to see his secret lair. She felt like she was finally getting to know him better. The next morning, Gyun Young woke up to a call from the manager. He said that Hoojun had been kidnapped. They raced to the police station to report it. The last message Hoojun sent was, "I was kidnapped by a fan." Gyun Young and the manager went to Hoojun's house to look for clues. Gyun Young found a suspicious hat that had been delivered to him. She remembered seeing a fan wearing the same hat. Gyun Young quickly contacted the crazy fan girl and asked if she'd seen the hat before. The girl told him it was a delivery guy. They raced to the delivery company and got a list of areas where he usually worked. They spent the whole afternoon stalking him until they finally saw the hat again. They quickly jumped out of the car to chase after him, but it was Hoojun. He was in disguise. Turns out, he had been asked to help someone pull off a super romantic proposal. He agreed since both of them were fans of Hoojun. In the end, all three of them went back home. After dropping Gyun Young off, the manager took Hoojun home. Before leaving, the manager told Hoojun to be good and stay home because they had a shoot the next morning. But Hoojun didn't listen. As soon as the manager was gone, Hu Jun jumped in his car and drove to Gyun Young's place. He took her to go camping by the lake. They sat down and watched episode 3 of the show together. Gyun Young couldn't believe it. The scene of her and Hu Jun kissing was on the show. She was about to call the director, but Hu Jun stopped her with a kiss. Hu Jun took Gyun Young home. He wasn't satisfied with just dropping her off. He wanted to see her at the door, but then he saw her kissing the elevator. Hu Jun couldn't help but burst out laughing. Gyun Young was so embarrassed that she wanted to disappear. The next day, everyone was back at the house for filming. They had to shoot some romantic scenes together. Their chemistry was so good that everyone on set felt like they were actually in love, not just an anti-fan and her idol. When the filming wrapped, Hu Jun was on his way home and asked his manager to pick up some ingredients for dinner. He was tired of eating out. The manager just left, and Hu Jun grabbed all the groceries and went to find Gyun Young. He cooked for her. All she had to do was keep him company. Hu Jun was cooking when the doorbell rang. Gyun Young peeked out the door and saw her friends arriving. Hu Jun had invited them over for dinner. Mi Young's boyfriend was thrilled to finally meet Hu Jun after missing him a few times. At the dinner table, Mai Jung accidentally spilled red wine on herself. Gyun Young quickly lent her a pair of pants, but she forgot she was keeping her living situation a secret. Gyun Young panicked and said the pants were Hu Jun's, but Mi Dong knew better. She dragged Gyun Young out onto the balcony and asked her point blank if she was living there. Gyun Young finally admitted to Mai Jung that she and Hu Jun were dating. The next day, Gyun Young got a call from Hu Jun's company. A brand wanted them to do a commercial together. She couldn't believe her luck. She was so happy. Gyun Young asked the manager, "Are you guys crazy? Why would you ask an amateur actress like me to do a commercial?" The manager convinced her to do it, and they headed to the shoot. When Gyun Young was all done with makeup, Hu Jun was blown away. She looked so sexy that he quickly ran over and fixed her collar. She was seriously smoking. After they finished filming the commercial, Hu Jun took Gyun Young for a walk in the park. He even brought her a new pair of shoes so she could walk more comfortably. They were both pretty famous, so they had to cover up their faces to go for a walk together. But all that hiding just made them stand out even more. Finally, they took off all their disguises and walked hand in hand down the street. Hu Jun took Gyun Young home and told her that the manager had gone back to Japan to find the ring, but he couldn't find it. Gyun Young asked Hu Jun which ring. He said, "The one you found and left at the front desk." A light bulb went off in Gyun Young's head. She remembered mentioning the ring to JJ. She quickly told Hu Jun to pull over, and she jumped into a taxi to go find JJ and get the ring back. JJ handed the ring over without a fuss because the private detective had already taken a picture of it for investigation anyway. Gyun Young returned the ring to Hu Jun, and they embraced right there in front of his house. They didn't know that JJ had been following Gyun Young after she took the ring back. He couldn't believe that Gyun Young had gone from being an anti-fan to being Hu Jun's girlfriend. He swore he wasn't going to let them be happy. The next day, Gyun Young had a get-together with her friends. They were having a good time when Gyun Young got a text from Hu Jun. She immediately excused herself and ran outside. Hu Jun was waiting for her. He took her out to see the night sky and told her the story of the ring. "That's a relic my dad left behind." Ever since he was old enough to remember, he had never known what his dad looked like. All he knew was what his mom had told me. Gyun Young just walked in the door when the doorbell rang again. This time it wasn't Hu Jun or his manager, but the CEO of Hu Jun's company. Turns out JJ had told the CEO about Hu Jun and Gyun Young's relationship, and he was there to break them up. Gyun Young was pretty shaken up after hearing that. The next day, they both went back to the house to film. Hu Jun was called out by the director and told that this was the last day of filming. He had no idea why, just that the higher-ups had decided it. Meanwhile, Gyun Young was pacing around the living room, totally clueless, when the TV suddenly turned on. Hu Jun popped up on TV, telling Gyun Young that this was the final filming day for the show. He thanked her for making it such an unforgettable experience. The video ended, and Hu Jun showed up with flowers for her. Gyun Young was so touched that she started crying. They filmed the last scenes together. The crew was busy, so Hu Jun snuck in a kiss on Gyun Young's lips, like a goodbye to the show and a hello to their future together. After the show wrapped, Gyun Young got a call from the editor of the magazine she'd interviewed with earlier. He invited her to join the magazine just because. She was happy and said yes. Since the show was over, Gyun Young moved out of Hu Jun's place to a new apartment closer to work. To surprise her, Hu Jun dressed up as a delivery guy and brought her a huge TV to help her set up her new place. What a sweet gesture. Gyun Young was still getting the hang of her new job. She asked a coworker for help, and this coworker, totally sneaky, stole info from her computer, including all those old posts where she was bashing Hu Jun. This coworker then gave them to the editor. Suddenly, everyone was talking badly about Hu Jun, and Gyun Young was stuck taking all the blame. They both knew the other wasn't really like that, but there was nothing they could do against what people were saying. She called Hu Jun, but he wasn't picking up because his boss had taken his phone. When Gyun Young went looking for him, his boss stopped her at the door. He took her to a cafe and basically told her that her posts were ruining Hoo-jun's reputation. Gyun Young pulled out her phone to apologize to Hoo-jun, but Hoo-jun's phone started ringing from the boss's pocket. His company had put out a statement defending Hoo-jun without his permission. They were using Gyun Young as a scapegoat to protect his image. Hoo-jun was furious. He marched right into his boss's office and confronted him. He couldn't stand the idea of hiding behind Gyun Young while she took the fall for everything. He was shocked that the boss who had been so nice to him would stoop so low to protect his own reputation. Hoo-jun was heartbroken and told his boss he wasn't renewing his contract. When Hoo-jun quit, his manager also resigned and left with him. Hoo-jun got his phone back and immediately called Gyun Young. She couldn't stop crying when she heard his voice. Gyun Young apologized to Hoo-jun for causing all this trouble. He said, "Don't worry, I'm going to protect you this time." He wasted no time and quickly cleared the air with a new post online. Just when things seemed to be settling down, another bomb dropped. Someone posted about Hoo-jun's past relationship with In-hyung, and tons of negative posts about Hoo-jun started popping up online. He went from hero to zero in a flash. In-hyung was kicked off the survival show because his past was exposed. Everyone thought JJ was the one who leaked this, since he was the only one who knew their secret. JJ went to see Gyun Young and insisted he didn't do it. But no one believed him. Gyun Young said she knew he was a good guy, and she believed him. This whole scandal made JJ realize he had been judging Hoo-jun wrong for so long. He went to see Hoo-jun and apologized over drinks. He told Hoo-jun he didn't do it, and gave him a business card saying it was the person who owned the ring he was looking for. Then, JJ left. Hoo-jun got a call from his old boss, and it turns out he was the one who started all this mess. At this point, Hoo-jun had nothing left to lose. That night, he called an emergency press conference. He apologized and took full responsibility for everything. In-hyung went to see JJ, thinking he was the one who had exposed their secret and caused all this chaos. She ran out into the street, ready to end it all. But JJ jumped to protect her. Hoo-jun got the news and rushed to the hospital. In-hyung was safe with just a few minor injuries, but JJ was in a coma. In the hospital, all their misunderstandings were cleared up, and the three of them were friends again just like they used to be. But the public had turned their backs on Hoo-jun. His fans became anti-fans, throwing eggs at his car. Brands canceled their contracts with him, leaving him with a huge debt. He was so busy dealing with all the companies that he texted Gyun Young to cancel their date that night, but she left her phone at home. Gyun Young waited all night for him, but finally gave up and went home. Gyun Young saw the text, but she didn't blame him. She knew he was trying to protect her. Hoo-jun told her to give him time to sort things out, and he'd come to find her. Hoo-jun remembered the business card JJ had given him and went to see the lawyer. He wanted him to be his lawyer, but also wanted an excuse to meet his dad for the first time. He gave the lawyer the ring and asked him why he left his mom. The lawyer recognized the ring as his but said the person who gave it to his mom was a friend of his. That friend was Hoo-jun's dad. He told Hoo-jun the sad story of their love. They were in love, but their families didn't approve, so Hoo-jun's dad had to go back and marry someone else. Hoo-jun's mom was heartbroken, but blessed them before leaving with Hoo-jun in her belly. She never told Hoo-jun's dad, and he's now passed away. Hoo-jun took a bouquet to meet his dad for the first time. After that, he rushed to the hospital to visit In-hyung and JJ. He heard JJ had woken up, but couldn't talk yet. Hoo-jun was reflecting on everything. He thought, if I hadn't fallen for the boss's trap and left the company with In-hyung and JJ back then, none of this would have happened. He decided to do something for them. He found JJ's diary and decided to write a song about their friendship. Even though everyone was against him now, he was determined to keep making music. Meanwhile, Gyun Young wrote an article about Hoo-jun and asked Soo-han to post it. When she got home, she found a USB drive. It was the one the director gave her on the last day of filming. He said a crew member forgot to turn off the camera, so he had saved a little video for her. Gyun Young was curious, so she clicked on the video. It was their kiss from the last episode. She couldn't hold back the tears. She went to their favorite spot and sat there crying. Out of nowhere, Hoo-jun appeared and hugged her, like he was saying everything he'd been missing. He kissed her on the lips like a thank you for waiting for him. The next day, Hoo-jun got hit with a bunch of lawsuits from brands who were pressured by his old company, claiming he broke his contract. Hoo-jun took it all in stride. He wasn't fazed by the reporters who showed up at the hospital. Then he got a call from his dad's friend. The friend, who's a lawyer, told Hoo-jun to reach out if he needed anything. He'd help him out. Hoo-jun and his manager quickly went to see the lawyer. Hoo-jun wanted to ask him how to make things right with the people who were hurt by the scandal. Meanwhile, the boss was drowning in debt because investors were pulling out after Hoo-jun left. His company was about to go under. Hoo-jun went to say goodbye to JJ at the hospital. He told him, I have to go somewhere. When I come back, you'll be able to talk again. Then he gave JJ a big hug and left. Before leaving, Hu Jun stopped by his old company. He was reminiscing about the time he and the boss built the company together. Hu Jun called the lawyer and told him he wanted to sell his house to pay off the boss's debts. He felt like he owed him that. Hu Jun called Gyun Young to say goodbye before he left. He told her, "I'm downstairs, but don't come down. If I see you, I won't be able to leave." Time passed so quickly. While Hu Jun was gone, Gyun Young became a reporter, just like she always wanted. Every day, she wrote articles defending Hu Jun. Her efforts were not in vain. The people he helped in the past spoke up about his good character. Hu Jun finally started getting his reputation back. 3 months went by in a blink. Gyun Young went to the director's wedding with everyone else. When it came time for the bouquet toss, everyone pushed Gyun Young forward, but she missed the bouquet. She went to pick it up, and someone had already grabbed it for her. She looked up, and it was Hu Jun. He was finally back after 3 months. He also released a song about their friendship that he'd been working on. It was a huge hit. The next day, Gyun Young got a call from someone who wanted to meet her. She walked into the cafe, and a young guy came running out, asking her to take a picture. As she pressed the button, everyone in the photo turned around and formed a message: "Marry me, please." At that moment, Hu Jun walked in with flowers and a ring. He proposed to Gyun Young, then kissed her right there in front of everyone. She was so touched, she started crying. Everything came full circle. Hu Jun and Gyun Young had a happy ending with a super romantic proposal. That's the end of the movie. If you liked it, give me a like and subscribe so I can make more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.